Okay, so types of communication. And to be honest, this content in this section is so obvious that it almost insults your intelligence, but let's go with it anyway. So we have written communication, which are things like email and memos and letters and stuff like that. And so they're handy if you want something to be, permanent, verifiable, right? So you can always say, you can pull it back up and check what was said or done, and you've got that proof. Whereas oral communication has the ability to have a much more ready exchange. So via, like, we can have oral communication on phone or in person, and we are able to get that deeper media richness. So we've got more evidence. So as a manager, when we're trying to communicate, if we're doing it orally, particularly in person, we can actually pick up on some of the cues that people are sending to us to make sure that we've actually been understood. Whereas if we're just shooting emails or memos, maybe people aren't reading them, or they're not interpreting them in the way that we are aiming to send them. So there's a bit of a balancing act here. So we also have a grapevine, which is common in large organisations, common everywhere really, but tends to be more the case in larger organisations just because there's more people, so more room and scope for rumours to start, things to shift and change over time, and for information to circulate. So we want to be making sure that as a manager, we are tuned into the grapevine, but also helping to manage it in a way that is most effective, as opposed to being just a kind of gossip channel. And so we've all probably experienced the idea or heard of the idea that non-verbal communication is pretty important, and that, it's been, studies suggest that between about 60 to 95 of all communication is non-verbal. So this includes our body language, so the ways that we're often not even aware of. And so as a manager, if we are thinking that we're communicating something to an employee, but then our face or our gestures or our behaviour is communicating something different. So we may think that we're paying attention, for example, when a team member is talking to us, but if we're reading our emails or shuffling papers or, staring off into space, they may get the message that you actually don't care and aren't interested in what they're saying. Similarly, we may make errors in our verbal intonation, where we miscommunicate something to someone else, either by communicating poorly or perhaps speaking too fast or too slowly. Maybe we speak too loudly or too softly. And maybe just the way that we use words is not communicating the way that we want. So these are all things that as managers, we need to be aware of in ourselves, because we may be miscommunicating or not having the intention that we, or not delivering on the intention that we have. And then as employees, maybe we need to be kind of picking up on these things and being able to process them in a deeper way, so that we're not just responding to them, but we're actually kind of going, oh, I wonder if they actually intend that, or whether there's just something else going on. Maybe they're distracted or busy, and it's not that actually that they're disinterested, but they're just focused on something else. All right, so that is the extent of types of communication, and let's look next at some communication barriers.